I just can't quite comprehend how A.J. Brown gets all this attention for having a book on the sideline. If you've ever been down on the sideline, books are everywhere. There's always a good moment to learn. The one that I've been working on this year, Darren, this might be good for you as well. Learning Leadership is the self-help book that I've been relying on quite a bit on the sideline here in 2024 campaign.
Paul, you're completely blocking your face from the camera.
Most people would say that's an asset. The primary instrument for leaders is the self. Did you know that? That authentic leadership flows from the inside out, according to this book here. And
that sounds very lonely, Paul.
Darren, I mean, come on. There's different chapters here, that could be invaluable.
Are you a Jim Murphy fan now?
Fundamental one, believe you can. Believing that you can lead is essential to developing your leadership skills and abilities. There's that.
Do you believe that you can lead? Yes or no?
Yes. But here's my question.
No lack of confidence.
Do I need... I believe it, damn it. Do I need a book to tell me that?
This might be a good time. Chapter 9, it's not just about you, Darren. Okay.
What about chapters 2 through 8?
Show that chapter. My name is not on there.
It
stops after
not
you.
Not just about you.
Why don't you read that and then give us the Spark Notes version?
It says, invariably, the answer we get to the question, how do you define leadership? How do you identify leaders? It's real simple. They have followers.
Well, I do follow at Cards Chatter, so that would
the reality
track.
is if you guys are told to follow me, you really don't have much of a choice.
That's the unfortunate world we live in.
That's good leadership right there.
It's being transparent and realistic.
Okay.
Jim Murphy, are you a Jim Murphy fan now?
Never heard of Jim Murphy until the other day.
The other day, right.
By the way, that last statement by Darren would be chapter 12, get gritty and stay hardy. That would be Darren putting the gritty into get gritty right there. So
I like the chapter names.
Yeah.
No Philadelphia conversations here. That's Zach Gershman.
You should get reimbursed for
gritty is not allowed.
You should get reimbursed for getting that book, Paul. Teaching your boss how to lead.
Okay. Full disclosure, because we are a fact-based podcast. Cardinals Underground brought to you by Pacific Office Automation. Never want to mislead the fine viewers or listeners. That actually belongs to Slim in security upstairs, and I actually borrowed this from him 11 minutes ago. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Inner Excellence, the aforementioned book that you referred to, the A.J. Brown sideline book, it's up 53 million% on sales on Amazon since it was seen.
I've got to be honest.
Does A.J. Brown get a cut of that? Is there?
I don't know.
I didn't realize
beak?
You were allowed to have a book on the sideline. There are so many rules about what you can and can't have. Like, you're not allowed to have an umbrella if you're at a game and it's raining, right? You can't have that on the sideline.
Well, they don't want you poking people, Danny.
I'm just saying, you don't see players. You can't have your phone. I guess for some reason, I don't know. Having a book to me was strange.
I should find the picture. Do you remember back in the day, Raiders are tracking for the number 1 pick. Cardinals at the Oakland Coliseum. Cardinals crushed the Raiders, and Darnell Dockett took the whiteboard.
Oh, I have that picture.
And he put Raiders 0-6 with like a frown face, and then put it up for the CBS cameras.
So you're not going to remember this clearly. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I was standing right there. I got a picture of it.
So did I, and I tweeted it out.
Oh,
and we got on the charter plane, and you came right back to. I never heard from anybody else, but you came up to me as soon as we got on the plane. Are you allowed to do that? And I'm like,
no.
Oh God, am I going to get in trouble now? Like,
no. Oh, I thought you said you did get in trouble.
No, I didn't get in trouble.
Not that Dockett would ever care, but
that was that was a very engaged tweet. Let me tell you.
See, you know why I didn't remember that? Because I follow chapter 8. Who you are isn't who you will be. That's chapter 8.
Oh, I like that.
That's a little bit later after the podcast. So
well,
there we go.
You just threw Slim's book on the ground.
Be nice with Slim's book.
That's not cool. It's So all right, there we go. Darren is prepared for the cold weather before we get into football.
I like that jacket a lot.
It's been football weather in the AZ.
I try and be fashionable around
Trust
Danny.
me, I can feel it with the cold.
Yeah, lows in the mid to high 30s. You're fighting it, huh, Danny?
I am on the upswing. It's been a whole week of excuse my cough drop. It's been a whole week of dealing with this.
I'll be honest, I'm starting to come down with something too.
Oh, no. Come on now.
It's not for me.
Okay. Paulie PSA, were you guys aware that there are the 4 Ps in Arizona when it comes to weather, cold weather?
I'm still learning what your 5 Cs are.
I thought, that was a different C's.
Yeah. The precautions to protect, and that's not even part of the 4 Ps, which are people, pets, pipes, and plants. So protect all the above from the cold weather. We get the one cold stretch all year here in the AZ.
So does that mean you are putting a Cheeto in a sweater? You know, as we record this on Tuesday, it is National Dress Up Your Pet Day.
All right, here we go. It's time to roll up the sleeves on that. Is this really a thing? I mean...
Yes, people dress their pets. Mostly dogs.
But can it really be honored with it and celebrated with its own day?
Oh, there's a day for everything.
Something as heinous as dressing up your own pet.
So that's a no, you don't put Cheeto in a sweater.
This, by the way, I don't know if you can see it. It's not from my tweet, but this is my photo.
Yes. Yeah, I have a similar one somewhere in this phone.
And I found this on a silver and black thing, so obviously they were not happy that he did that. Anyways, I just want to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other picture I have right next to that picture on my phone is a Raider fan in row 1 pulling up his shirt, and right there in his midsection is a tattoo of Al Davis. Something we can all agree
midsection?
That in his midsection that we don't need.
Maybe he lost a bet.
And he didn't have 6-pack abs either, put it that way. So dressing up your pet, is this permissible? Is this acceptable? Is this encouraged?
There are exceptions.
Okay.
If you live somewhere cold, I think it's adorable to put your dog in a sweater when you're taking them outside. Not like roaming around inside your house. I'm getting nods of disapproval from my 2 co-hosts over here. You know what I also really love, though? So I've seen friends who live in cold weather places. I went to school in Missouri. You have boots for the cold weather, take your dogs for a walk. I didn't know that they made boots for living in the desert for the summertime. And so when I saw
asphalt's like 170
yes, and I
degrees,
think that's so cute. It's very important. I think that's adorable. So those are the exceptions if it's weather related and it's keeping your pet safe. I don't like to dress up an animal, though, like just to hang around inside your house.
I'm with you on I think I'm well established as let's tamp it down on the pets thing. But if it keeps them safe, yes. I think that's why it's important for all pet owners, if they did not grow up here, to be able to understand the summer stuff. Having grown up here, the number of times I walked outside with nothing on my feet to go get the mail or whatever. And the house I grew up in had an asphalt gravelly driveway. I don't know what I was doing. I'm surprised my feet still exist between the heat and tearing them up with the stones. But I did that way too many times, because you do that 1 or 2 times, you will understand why your pets need something on their feet.
I love the videos too of when the pets are putting on these shoes for the first time. And these dogs feel like they don't know how to walk, and their legs are just flailing around everywhere.
Okay. The foot protection from the big heat, I get it. Beyond that, putting your pet in some sort of outfit, costume, uniform. I mean,
I think I'm with you, Paul.
I mean, are you not removing
What if it's just for a photo op?
It's like your pet has had all its dignity removed. I mean, right there on the spot.
Why are you looking at me like that? A Halloween costume, Darren?
The only thing worse than dressing up your pet is when people refer to themselves as pet parents.
I agree on that 100%.
In the third person, like a pet dad, a dog dad, or
Agreed.
Oh my goodness, please.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Okay, where do we...
There are levels to
I know
this.
I'm going to offend people out there, and I have people in my life I probably offend. Where do we stand on the people that kind of feel like they're... Yeah, okay, maybe I don't have kids, but I have pets. It's the same thing.
Disagree. It's not the same thing.
Not the same
Not
thing.
the same
No,
thing
it's not.
at all.
No.
It's
I'm
a
with you.
responsibility.
It is a responsibility.
It's not the same responsibility
like brushing
as a
your
child.
teeth. It's a responsibility.
Yeah. Just like you should be able to make a citizen's arrest with a pet owner who has dressed their pet up and call the PETA hotline. You should be able to somehow get that said person some sort of counseling.
I take it neither of y'all have ever seen somebody put a dog in a stroller.
We have several of those folks in
don't
our
even
get me.
neighborhood. Yes, I
Wild
remember that
to
all
me.
the time.
Family
Yeah,
members.
yeah, it's
We probably should be
Okay.
careful. I'm sure
Yeah.
somewhere at the team shop
Yeah.
there's Cardinals jerseys for pets.
yeah. So okay. So I guess with that in mind, there is a football segue here in some way,
Let's
shape,
hear it.
or form.
I'd love to hear it, Paul.
I'm buying myself some time. Okay, here you go. Here's. I saw a lot of adults dressed up in Vikings and Rams gear out of the stadium.
Nice, very nice. I'm going to give that a 8.5 out of 10 for a segue.
I saw 2 Fran Tarkenton jerseys, 2 old-timers rocking Fran Tarkenton jerseys. I saw that. I saw an 8-year-old in an Eric Dickerson throwback jersey.
Okay, that's
Major
quality.
Props, gave the kid knuckles on that one.
I've got your segue that you missed. The Cardinals sent 2 team planes out to L.A. so that Rams players, coaches, families, and pets could travel to Arizona.
You're right. So if we're keeping score, it was 6 dogs and 2 cats. Is that correct? If we read correctly, azcardinals.com, I think the tally was.
I mean,
yes.
if we're talking about pets, our good friend Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic, she is a Arizona native, grew up around here, actually worked as an intern on game days for the Cardinals before she got into the journalism racket. She covers the Rams, and she's basically been living out of her car for about a week-ish because of how much she's been on the road, has her dog with her.
Really?
Yeah, speaking
Wow.
of pets. I mean, she didn't get evacuated per se, but because she had to, she was trying to get over to practices and the air quality was bad, and then she had to come out to Arizona, which I'm assuming she's staying with her family, so.
Well, and I shared this on Red Sea Report as someone who was out there volunteering and basically helping with game day ops, out and about outside the stadium, fans filing in. It was amazing how many of the fans said, thank you. Anyone in Cardinals gear, thank you for hosting the game. Thank you for the open tailgate on the Great Lawn where everybody had access, band playing, food and drink available, good time had by all. You could see, especially those folks who did come over from SoCal, and there were quite a number of them, and I talked to a lot of them, and they had driven in that same day, that same morning, not to mention the 30 buses or so that the Rams sent over with season ticket holders, and a lot of those folks came up, and they were juiced up, and they said, yeah, this is about the first time I've smiled in 2 weeks.
You weren't born there, but you grew up in the Bay Area.
And we used to visit SoCal a lot. So I have an uncle, my brother and his wife, and I have an aunt and uncle south of that region. But yeah, they're all right. None of them is affected so far. So thankfully enough. But when the email went out and said, hey, we need some volunteers, I said, you know what? Least I could do considering the roots. Yeah.
It's funny because I did a story kind of like on the Cardinals helping put this game on at State Farm Stadium. And I got a chance to talk to both Commissioner and Michael Bidwell before the game. And one of the things that Michael said that struck me that I put in the story was just like, when something like this happens, oftentimes you're thinking, well, what can I really do about it? I mean, obviously we all could send money somewhere, but what could I do? And Michael was saying, like, look, most of us can't do tangibly much. But if we can, there were so many in this organization that were willing to like step up and do like what you did, Paul, and do a little part of whatever, and have LA fans come over here and again kind of escape the thought process for a couple hours while they're watching their team. He goes, that's what our role happens to be, and so I do think the props goes to people like you and so many people that worked. I know in our company, not only were they doing some of the volunteer stuff, but like some of us were working for the Cardinals. I wrote a story for the team website, but a lot of people in our department ended up essentially being helpers for the Rams to put on the game, to do whatever they could in terms of giving them bodies that they would normally have at a home game, but couldn't because of the distance between where home is and where the game was.
Truly every department had a hand in this, from the ticket sales department of helping transfer those tickets and sell tickets here, the concession staff, security, the in-game entertainment, helping with the Rams to make that feel like a true home playoff game for them, as much as that might be bittersweet for Cardinals fans, to make that the experience that the Rams had earned through their play this season. The IT department making sure that the practice facility where the Rams practiced here, where the Cardinals are on Saturday, that was secure with everything that they needed. The Cardinals equipment staff and the turf team getting the field ready and painting it, all of those things. It's really just an honorable gesture from the top down for everybody to open up State Farm Stadium and practice facility and help put on a game, a playoff game between the Rams and Vikings Monday night.
Yeah, and then when the game started, you're like, you know what? Cardinals played the Rams a lot tougher than the Vikings played the Rams.
What happened to Minnesota?
Man. Well, Sam Darnold held onto the ball way too long.
Very long.
Way too often.
He did hold on to the ball too long, and then you start looking at like the social media, the Twitter breakdowns today. It's been interesting because you would have thought more of those sacks were Darnold holding the ball, and like I've seen like there was one that I saw of the 9 sacks, he figured only 2 were Darnold's fault. There was another one that said of the 6 sacks that Darnold took in the first half, he was putting none on the quarterback. Now, obviously, you could throw it away earlier, but I'm assuming that means the coverage was excellent. And
but what about Minnesota's defense? 33 takeaways in the regular season?
Well, that flies in the face of what Kurt Warner was saying on the national radio call. I ended up hearing a lot of the radio call just because I was in my car. And Kurt most definitely put it on Sam Darnold. You know,
Kurt puts everything on the quarterback.
It's like,
always.
You got to get rid of that ball. That ball has to be out. You can't take that sack. You can't take that loss.
And I get that. Although it is interesting when you look at, so the Rams, I don't want to say they mailed in their last game, but they rested everybody in their last game. So the last, 4 games that have counted, that defense gave up 6 points to the 49ers, 9 points to, I'm forgetting who it was. There was somebody else with 9 points. 9 points to the Cardinals, and now 9 points to the Vikings. This Rams defense, the thing that I came out of last night wasn't Darnold stinking, was like, this Rams defense is getting really good really fast, and it's young.
So here's a stat. Wall Street Journal did a story on the Rams defense just because of the dollars and cents, the financial aspect of it. So the entire defense this season costs less than $40 million under the cap. That's $27 million less than the next lowest team spent on defense, and it's $52 million below the league average in terms of what teams have spent on their defense. In other words, they have drafted really well.
Exactly.
And they found a lot of players on the second and third day.
For an organization that hasn't always been known for what they've done in the draft and more so focused on spending big bucks in free agency.
F them picks.
Yeah, the whole Les Snead. Honestly, if I'm an NFL owner right now and I'm looking for a GM, I'm trying to figure out, okay, did Les Snead make those picks? Or does he have an assistant in that offense, in that office making those picks? And if so, that person might be worthy of getting promoted, because that's how often they've hit on a lot of picks beyond even the first round.
Well, and to me, it also goes back to, like, it feels, and I could be wrong, and obviously there's still some things on offense that the Cardinals need to address, but it's felt like this is going to be a defense-heavy draft, depending on what happens in free agency, of course, and it tells you that if you do it right, you can find some people quickly if you find the right guys.
By the way, I don't know what you guys have been doing, but I'm looking ahead to the Senior Bowl around here, and I just took a quick glance.
You're a big Alabama guy. I know.
D-line, SEC D-line is a very talent-rich position group this year. Going to the Senior Bowl, there's going to be 3 standouts from A&M. There's going to be 3 standout D-linemen from Ole Miss. South Carolina has a dynamic duo of D-linemen, apparently. And then there's a dude from Kentucky who was second-team All-SEC last year, and he was a game record this year. He's from Detroit. He has a basketball background.
I'm not eligible in the draft, Paul. I'm sorry.
I was talking more about Darius Robinson.
Oh.
Darren, it's not always about you. I was trying to make reference to Darius Robinson from Detroit with a basketball background.
My bad.
His name is Dayon Walker, 6'6", 345.
It's a large human being.
Size of a nose tackle, quickness of a 3 technique is what the scouting background says. And at midseason, ESPN did their list of top 25 players in college football, period. He made that list. So I'm We got an early eye on that dude right there. We start just throwing out names
We're
at
already
random.
picking to click over
That's
here.
right.
On
That's right.
January, whatever it is.
It's never too early to just speculate wantonly about the draft and throwing out names out of nowhere.
Danny, we have to know that this is Paul's time of year to shine.
That's why I'm just sitting back and letting him go.
I mean, Darren, come on. You know the insatiable appetite for all things
I do.
related to the draft.
And Paul, you know me. The draft time doesn't start until the combine. Before then, I got stuff I got to do. And
I don't know. There was a countdown in the office today, 100 days
that's
till the
true.
draft.
There's a big countdown in the office.
There are really only a couple things in America where there's an insatiable appetite. The draft is one. Donuts would be another, which is why
I disagree.
Duncan ran
You
into
don't like
an
donuts?
issue.
I don't not like donuts. They just don't really do much for me.
So
Like
you,
if
Well, they're an
I'm
inanimate object, Danny.
if I'm wanting something for breakfast, 10 out of 10 times I'm picking a bagel.
I don't want a
over,
donut
like,
for
a donut.
breakfast. A donut is a sweet treat.
You're telling me like you would go have a donut that's been sitting in a box at like 2 o'clock that's like stale at that point? No, you have
Is
to
it
get in the
stale?
morning when it's fresh.
Man, you got. First of all,
demand-
I like
for
a
someone
donut,
who
but
doesn't like donuts, you're awful
No,
demanding
I-
about donuts.
I like them. They just don't really do much for me.
Okay. So
but
you
Dunkin' Donuts should not run out of donuts.
you didn't have a mental health
What?
episode of any sort when Duncan ran out of donuts this
I didn't
last
see that,
week?
though.
Yes, they
Well, it was right there when you.
I
fill in the other
understand that,
stuff.
Darren. It's on the rundown, but I didn't see it when it happened online.
Well, because it only happened in like a couple of states, but still.
Yeah,
I
Nebraska,
mean,
New
that's-
Mexico, a few other states, they didn't have donuts on their shelves, and they had to notify
Although here's
the public.
what I don't understand: they had donut holes, they didn't have donuts.
Right.
I thought the whole point of
Yeah.
the donut hole was like you were like carving out something out of the regular donuts. Shouldn't it be a 1-to-1 ratio?
Or
One donut hole to every donut.
But when you rebrand your company Dunkin' and you eliminate donuts from the brand, if you're just known as Dunkin', then all of a sudden you're speaking it into existence. Now you have this donut drought going on.
Also, as an English person, them saying "do nots" or however they spell it wrong, and it's very annoying.
Here's my conspiracy theory. You want my
Ooh,
conspiracy
I
theory?
love a good conspiracy
one?
theory.
The day that they ran out of donuts also coincided perfectly with National Quitters Day, January 10th, which is the day by which most Americans have already quit their New Year's resolutions. So I think this was the case of the donut gods,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The fitness gods speaking and saying, no, thou shall not break, quit your New Year's resolution. Guess what? You want a donut, you vowed to go without a donut, your New Year's resolution. Well, you won't get a donut because there are none.
Or are we about to get a new movie released by Ben Affleck? And this is all part of a ploy.
Right. And he's got his sweatsuit on and he's got a bad rap song to go along with it. Is that what you're saying?
Wow,
Something.
I missed that.
Is he about to announce he's back together with Jennifer Lopez? Is that what this is all about?
That
The
went
PR
over my.
move?
I had to grab that right
Yeah.
before it went way over my head and pull
Yeah.
it back so I could understand what was going on there.
That would be interesting if Ben Affleck, he just flies in and saves the day with donuts, Super Donut Man, something like that. Okay. All right. Now what's the segue back to football? That's a great question. Sweet treat. Buda Baker named second team All-Pro. How about
There you
that?
go.
There you go. That's his reward. Give that man.
This is where Paul makes all his money. Is this kind of stuff?
Give Buddha a donut
That was
for
really good
second team
leadership,
All-Pro.
Darren.
So
That was a really good display
I'm
of
going to put it in
leadership.
his review.
should he have been first team? You know what's interesting? Antoine Winfield Jr., who got jacked to the squad a year ago despite all these ridiculous stats, and he was very angry about it. Didn't make the Pro Bowl, this year got first team All-Pro.
Right.
So it really does lend credence to the whole, you make the Pro Bowl and or All-Pro 1 year too late, and you probably stick around on that team 1 year too long.
Probably true. And that's because everybody pays attention to all the people that complain about.
Right.
There was somebody who didn't make it this year. Oh, the safety for the Lions who had like 9 interceptions.
Kirby Joseph.
He didn't even make the Pro Bowl.
No. But he was first team All-Pro.
Yes.
Sort of like last year, Kyron Williams was second team All-Pro running back. But
Ooh, and what's the difference there? The All-Pro is the writers voting. The Pro Bowl is the players voting. See? And coaches.
Okay. All
and
right.
fans.
Yeah. So, do you guys agree, now that we've had another week elapsed since the 2024 season, that the more we get into the future and remove from this past season, the more we'll begin to appreciate what Buda Baker put out on that field? An epic career year. Do you think
I'd
in
like
the
to
moment?
think we appreciated him in the moment,
Are
no?
you sure, though? I'm asking you. Are you sure? You might want to do a systems check and double check that you fully
Come with the receipts, Paul. I'm
that
pretty sure I appreciated
you-
Budda Baker during the season.
you fully appreciated Buddha's epic season, the greatness he put on that field, down to down, game. You sure there wasn't a game or two you took it for granted?
I'm positive.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
Oh, got loud. Danny's mad now.
I just turned down my headphones.
Bring
What
the
was that? Okay.
receipts.
Okay.
I will say when I look back on Buddha right now, it's amazing. It's amazing how it feels now compared to when we were going to training camp. You didn't know if he was going to get a contract extension. He didn't have a bunch of splash plays last year. There was a lot of questions about Buddha, and it feels like all he did all season was just check every single box that you were looking at until we got to this point.
And maybe most critical, would offenses continue to go away from Budda Baker, minimize his impact, neutralize him by just going the other way, by breaking the huddle and going, oh, there's number 3 on the right, let's go left. So whatever the Cardinals did, and we talked about this last week, the unlocking of Budda Baker, allowing him to keep his eyes on the quarterback more and just use his instincts and football IQ, and when he deemed it necessary and appropriate, boom, shoot his gun, get into the backfield and set a career high for tackles for loss, for example.
10 led the team in tackles for loss, led the team in tackles with 164. You look around the league at the top tacklers, and it's a bunch of middle linebackers and Baker. It's incredibly impressive the way that he is able to be as impactful as he is and play with the consistent technique that he does everywhere on the field. He's not only great in one aspect and then good over here, he is great everywhere he plays. And it's nice that now that you saw in year 2, a better understanding of what the parameters of this defensive scheme is, which allowed him to just not think and go play and rely on his natural instincts a little bit more.
And what's amazing, too, is beyond everything we can cite in terms of the stats and the splash plays and the highlights is how the rest of the guys in that locker room truly revere Budda Baker and how they watch his every move. The young guys. Darius Robinson on the Big Red Rage recently. Oh, yeah, I always have half an eye on Budda Baker. How's he going about his business? Rabbit saying, I go up purposely from day one. I sit in the front row right between Budda and Jalen Thompson. You know, I mean, if you're Monty Osborne and Jonathan Gannon, how do you put a price on that when that's the kind of guy they're following and he's one of the best playmakers in the league, and you understand why they got preemptive and got ahead of the curve and got him under contract,
They
right?
found a price to pay, and thank goodness they did. It
Yeah.
says a lot that Baker didn't even want to test free agency. Rabbit said that he doesn't even necessarily ask questions when in meeting rooms with Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. He just sits by them and listens to them talk and ask questions to each other, and that's how he learns. That's crazy.
There's just one shortcoming, one problem with Budda Baker's season.
Is that a dig on his height? I thought you and he already had a battle about that.
No, it would be on the it would be a dig against the media content team of the Arizona Cardinals,
Okay.
those who failed to vote Budda Baker most valuable Cardinal.
Okay, so the Cardinals Team Awards.
Yours truly installed Budda Baker as most valuable Cardinal, and I was aghast at the fact hardly anybody else did.
See, I was aghast that was not unanimous for James Conner.
Well, it's like so on right now. We definitely have a divergence of opinion here on Cardinals Underground.
That never happens.
I did vote. Well, for those listening, every year we do Cardinals Awards, and this year it's editorial staff, on-air personalities. There were 13 of us, and we voted for most valuable Cardinal, offensive and defensive player of the year, newcomer of the year, beyond the box score, player of the year, and play of the year. There were 2 instances where I was the only person who voted for the players I did. I gave Budda Baker beyond the box score player. I understand when you look at the stats we're talking about of the tackles for loss and the tackles and how much he made an impact when you're looking at the numbers. Although when you look around the league, a lot of times the safeties, you're looking at the splash plays of the interceptions or PBUs, things of that nature. I went with Baker for all the things we were just talking about, for beyond the box score of the type of leader he is. He's a vocal leader. He leads by example. He does things the right way. He puts the team above himself. He takes care of his body. He is not only working in the field, he's also in the film room. All of those things. And because he is so ingrained into this Cardinals organization and wants to win so badly with Arizona, that has a trickle-down effect. And that's why I voted Baker beyond the box score player. And I understand it's Baker, so that would be a good argument against. I don't know how you didn't see James Conner as the most valuable Cardinal. Truly, I don't.
Let's get back to the beyond the box score. I define beyond the box score as like sort of an unknown, underappreciated type player.
Yes.
Am I alone in that understanding?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
I think both perceptions can be
I
valid.
think it can be through whatever prism you want, Paul.
I think I did a pretty nice job explaining why I viewed certain things beyond the box score
Who
from
did you
Baker.
Did you vote for Froholt? Is that who you voted
I did.
for?
Yes, I voted
That's still
for
a good
Froholt.
vote.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just, I mean, how often do you hear anybody bring up Froholt? Isn't that the essence of beyond the box score player, right? I mean, he's never in the box score, right? Unless he recovers a fumble or something. I mean, he's never going to. So
was that a diss against Jonah Williams? I don't understand why you would just say that.
Yeah. But yeah, I went Buddha, most valuable Cardinal. And I went Trey McBride, Offensive Player of the Year. And when I looked at my ballot there before I sent it, I said, "Geez, it is missing James Conner." Not ideal, but I will say this: James Conner missed the last 2.5 games, so
that's why he was my most valuable Cardinal, because when he went out of that Panthers game, there went the season.
Sort of the Steve Nash effect.
Yes.
Steve Nash won his first MVP because
Buddha, it was between him and Buddha, really, for me. I thought Trey had a great year, but when I'm looking at most valuable, I'm looking for the emotion part of it too, and so it was between those two. So
I guess if I reverse engineer it, one of the reasons I went Buddha, most valuable Cardinal, is we saw the Cardinals offense without James Conner. Not ideal, but they were in a position without James Conner to win. And in Week 17 at the Rams, and they did win the finale. I guess the question I asked myself was, man, what would the defense have looked like without Buddha Baker saving their bacon?
I think ultimately it's very good to have a cornucopia of ideas here for.
So who is your Defensive Player of the Year?
I actually, as I look at that now, that's I want to go into my next segue at this point.
No, let's hear it, Paul. Say it with your chest.
I had Kaiser White, and I mean he had like 137 tackles. Kaiser White, I went defense. He calls the defense.
Not bad.
He's the
Nobody's
the
mad
quarterback
at
of the
you.
defense.
No one's mad.
I can't
I
speak for
stand by
anybody
my
in the
answer.
comments,
Started all
but
17 games.
Go check it out on azcardinals.com. You can see who everybody voted for and who won. My answers were prime, though.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So, okay. It's all how you're viewing it.
Sounds like it's how you're viewing it.
Does anybody lose their vote? Like, has anyone over the years, Darren, lost their vote because of responses so poor and so?
I don't know if we want to go there.
So bereft of any.
The answer is yes.
That nearly happened. I don't know if it actually happened, but
because I couldn't help but notice the whole grid was posted. What everybody voted for in every category, it was posted at the end of the story online.
It was.
Why
is that bad?
Are you new here, Paul?
I'm just saying
it's
it
been
was
like
there.
that for 7 years.
But what I'm saying is, like when they vote, like national, like the baseball writers vote, they don't post every single
Are you
writer's
embarrassed
vote
for your votes or something?
No, but I'm saying it's all right there. Like we apparently on azcardinals.com, we believe in transparency.
We do.
Oh,
it's about transparency.
Okay.
I'm not embarrassed by my answers.
If people want to get mad, let them get mad. I had somebody call me out in the mailbag for my Beyond the Box Score choice.
Who is your Beyond the Box Score?
LJ Collier.
Oh, I like that.
Not bad.
He was mad because I didn't pick Kelvin Beachum.
That's the beauty. There are options for all of these.
And I consider
I was the only one who picked
Yeah.
Garrett Williams as Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, it's like our one and only ground rule here on Cardinals Underground. All opinions your own. Own your opinion.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah, well, it's been around for before you worked here.
I've always had opinions, though, so that's not really a problem.
I think he actually said that when Wolf used to sit in that chair.
Actually, I think I got out of chapter 11 of learning leadership here. I'll refer to that a little bit. We'll have a breakout session after this podcast.
If
we can talk leadership.
The book A.J. Brown was reading went up. What was the percentage?
53 million %.
What percentage of that book is going to rise after Paul giving it some love on Cardinals Underground?
Yeah.
One.
This book? It's a great question.
Yeah. Let's see. What else has happened since last episode of Cardinals Underground? You know what? I did forget one bit of housekeeping from the last Cardinals Underground coming off the end of the season.
Yes.
Let's see. How should I put this?
Oh, dear.
for years there's been something known as the Pash factor.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't really been that predominant or evident the last couple of years.
But I hear a butt coming.
Yeah, maybe someone else is ready to fill into that role. I'll let Darren swallow before I mention D-Herb around here. Was there an urban factor going on with Michael Wilson missing the season finale? After speaking of azcardinals.com, it was put in print that he was expected to complete an entire season.
This is true.
And 24 hours later, an injury of some sort was suffered in the last practice of the year.
Yes. I will say that, I don't believe any of that stuff.
Urban factor?
I don't believe
He doesn't believe in jinxes.
Or any of that
or
stuff.
good luck or karma.
Yeah.
And you want to know something? Michael Wilson did not come over to me and slap me upside the head and say, "Why did you do that to me?" So
You didn't get a DM of any sort from Michael Wilson? No?
Because he's Stanford educated and he understands what reality is. I can't speak for those that got educated at other Bay Area schools, but...
Well, it's 5 years in a row we've Cal over Stanford, just to let you know, Michael. One for the thumb is where we are right now in the rivalry. So you guys might want to find your next Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw. You might want to find your next good coach because
don't tempt them.
It ain't working right now.
No, it's not.
I'll tell you that much right now. It's the only thing we have to hang our hat on. That's for sure. All right, speaking of Michael Wilson, right, he was the guy who was identified to take a big jump from year one to year two. Who from this rookie class, from year one players, and there were a dozen rookies out of the draft, undrafted guys, is there anyone, look, Marvin Harrison Jr., we expect him to be better? Let's just start there. How much better do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. can be in year two? You look at the numbers, pretty good for a rookie, right? The old Larry David. But if you watch every single game, as we do, obviously there was a lot left out there on the field.
Where he can get better is consistency. Marvin Harrison Jr. did have a good rookie year when you're looking at the receptions, receiving yards. He tied the franchise's record for most receiving touchdowns by a rookie with 8. You need to see that on a more consistent basis. It wasn't until the very end of the season when Harrison had back-to-back games of 50 or more receiving yards. And some of the throws, some of the incompletions were not necessarily on Harrison, whether that was pressure on the quarterback or timing or anything of that nature. However, there were too many incompletions. There were some dropped passes. You just need to see more. You need to see more physicality, winning some more of those contested catches. Now, you did see some still, so that's why you have the foundation of expecting a jump from year one to year two, because we did see some of those contested catches, some where he was contorting his body or it was over the shoulder or whatever it might have been. You just need to see that on a more consistent basis. When Harrison is on the field, you need him to be your most threatening receiver. That was just not the case as many times as it should have been.
You know, if you go back to the Week 17 game at the Rams, where he had 6 for 96 on 10 targets, had the long of 24, that went down the sideline, the back shoulder. And then you go to the comments made the next week in the media by Marvin, Kyler, and Drew Petzing, which was the final media availability really on that topic. And it was interesting if you listen to Kyler say, yes, we put him in position to win.
Yeah.
And then Marvin said not long after that, I had some different routes that I got to run against the Rams in Week 17. And then I have it here somewhere, Drew Petzing talking about, he won some one-on-ones. He played fast, violent, aggressive at the top of the routes, the run after catch, and he got the football. We got the football to 18 in space. So I think if you take all that together, I think that represents a little bit of a different strategy, a little bit, some different routes that he ran in the last couple of games. Either he mastered that and or they realized he had that in his route tree and it wasn't being maximized. And then also, you know, Kyler talking about, I don't know if it was that week or the week before that, yeah, it can be better. It needs to be better, right? So I think there's that realization, too, from the quarterback that, guess what? They left some meat on that bone out there when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr. And so if he takes a significant jump this next season, I would not be shocked. Just based on that.
I would not be shocked either, although, again, what is that? How does that manifest itself? Can he make a significant jump and still gain, let's say he gains 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns? Can he make a significant jump and put up those numbers? Or are you sitting here saying if he doesn't put up 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, it's...
Am I wrong not to attach a number to it? I guess it really is more of what we see in
I'm
terms
saying,
of being more aggressive, going after it.
I think ultimately that's the question.
The way he's utilized.
I don't think you're wrong.
Okay.
I think nuance and context matters. And we've said that all along. I said that before the season. I thought he could be everything they needed him to be, and maybe he gets 1,000 yards, maybe he doesn't. Now, I don't think he was everything they were hoping he was going to be, and it kind of manifested itself in those numbers. Because again, it's what we saw. But I don't think there's a direct correlation between gaudy video game numbers and what you're trying to get out of the guy, because you don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Here's another reason to believe that Harrison will have a jump from year 1 to year 2 that many hope to achieve in the league, is that he has the mentality. He's been very humble, very focused since the moment he stepped foot in the door. And that's what happens when you grow up with a Hall of Fame wide receiver dad. So he already has the mentality, and he knows what it takes and how to take care of his body and to put the team first. Harrison was never the type of player this year, when he was coming off a great game, coming off a poor performance, of blaming other people or having a pity party that you see with a lot of other receivers around the league. Harrison already has the mentality that you want from a mature, experienced player, and that's another reason to believe that he is going to have a jump from year 1 to year 2 and understanding what this coaching staff is wanting from him and working hard to achieve that.
Hey, Paul, have you seen Marvin read a book on the sideline at any point during a game?
Maybe you should suggest that.
He might have a book on, he's a young guy, right? So he probably has a book.
They're all young compared to us, Paul.
They have a book. He has a book on the tablet. Maybe he has a book on the tablet.
How my wife reads books.
Yeah, instead of, the Kindle. They still have Kindles.
You know what? Everyone's going to be reading a lot more.
It's a Surface.
If TikTok actually
it's a
gets
Microsoft
banned.
Surface they use on the sidelines.
Enough.
I just need to reiterate, it's a Microsoft Surface.
Okay, we get it. Everyone's going to be reading a lot more if TikTok actually gets banned. I don't know what I'm going to do all day at work.
See, once again, that's the gods at work again. No more donuts. Don't break your New Year's resolution. We ran out of donuts. And then no more TikTok, because it's destroying people's brains from the inside out. Go back to literature.
No, how am I going to see videos of people putting boots on their dogs for the first time and learning how to walk?
Right.
How is she going to put out videos talking about what job? Is that what the video was?
Do you remember when I made a TikTok of Darren and I just recorded him without him knowing, and the whole trend was like your voice was in it. The whole trend was like you have TikTok quote unquote babysit your boss, where you record them and you walk away without telling them what's going on, and then you go back and see what they said about you. Right before a podcast, the middle of the season, I propped my phone in front of Darren and I left the room, and you said, as his legal counsel, you recommended not saying anything. And Darren went on about how good of an employee I am and how much he likes working with me.
Alex, do you want to drop this in the video so
our camera operator back
find
here
that video wherever it is?
Okay, rookie number 2, I'm going to throw out there.
You actually learn a lot from TikTok. Hang on, I'm not done. There's a lot of TikTok hacks that you can learn. And I'm actually really concerned if we don't have this app much longer, because you can learn a lot of really valuable things from that app. It's not all just doom scrolling.
There's a lot of people whose business, like their marketing and the promotion of their business is predicated
what they put all their money towards.
On TikTok. I mean, they're about to
take a petition I can sign or something?
Yes, but then certain other countries take over your mind. I hope you got that clip about Danny saying, "Hold on, I'm not finished," because if I don't hear that elsewhere at some point, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I have rabbit.
Follow me on TikTok before it's banned.
Yeah. The breakout session we do with the leadership book we'll conduct on TikTok. So we'll check every box on that one, okay? A little bit later. How about that?
The second rookie for me.
Yes.
Good segue.
Thank you.
That was like so PBS. Darren just went very formal right there.
This is so low-hanging fruit, but I mean, doesn't it have to be Darius Robinson? Doesn't it have to be?
Well, there's only one way, and it's up at this point. I mean,
well, and I'm not even. I want to see him play the full season. Now, I don't know what this team. And Paul, you already kind of talked about it a little bit when you got way ahead on your draft talk, but obviously, I think this team is going to be addressing the defensive line as we get into this offseason. But I want to see. I mean, first of all, it's weird. Like, we don't even talk about Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, and those guys are going to be around and back. But I think they're going to address the defensive line. But don't you want to see Darius Robinson make that big jump? It felt like he was trending in that direction at a high rate of speed in training camp. And then the injury, and I mean, he literally did not have a full practice once the regular season starts. So even when he came back, they listed him as limited in practice every single practice the rest of the season.
And for that reason, and based on a comment that his position coach said in one final meeting with the media late in the year, I do wonder if he was ever 100%. I do wonder if we ever saw the real Darius Robinson. To what degree was he still limited? Was he not able to go full contact football because of the calf injury?
That's what kept him limited all season once he returned. By the time Darius really got going, the season was over because he only played half a season. And when you're a rookie, typically you hit that mark earlier on in the season because remember, Robinson missed a couple final weeks of training camp. So he missed significant amount of time. That does make sense. Those are the two low-hanging fruits of where you want to see a significant jump from year 1 to year 2, and your first-round picks. Of course, that's what you want to see. You want to see longevity, and you want to see promise of these players that they can be part of the foundation and the future moving forward. It'll be interesting, though, of where players beyond those two make a jump, and mostly because what kind of reps are they going to get? Rookie running back Trey Benson is very intriguing to me because once he had the opportunity to get consistent reps in the middle of the season, you saw some flashes. He dealt with injury late in the season. The question is, though, is he going to see significant more time next year when the Cardinals have re-signed James Conner, or is it going to kind of be what we saw from Benson this year where he's the clear number 2, but it's not a complimentary 1 and 2 splitting reps evenly kind of deal? What about Rabbit? Taylor Demerson, the safety, somebody who, when his number was called upon, he looked fast. He was a hard hitter. You could tell that he was picking up the speed of the game. How much playing time is going to be available for him when he's playing behind Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson? There are players where I still expect to see a jump, and I think that can be even more impactful. The question's going to be what kind of playing time? And that includes cornerback Max Melton, who's going to be fighting for spots against Sean Murphy-Bunting and Star Thomas.
Elijah Jones,
a rookie we did not see all year.
I don't know if you're going to say he's going to make a jump because he didn't get to play
That's low-hanging fruit if we see him in a game.
But, the cornerback position is fascinating to me because you're going to have too many guys for playing time. And that's good. You want to be able to get the best guys you can. But what does that look like? Is that Starling Thomas? Is it still Sean Murphy-Bunting? Does Max Melton jump like a second-round pick should? Is Elijah Jones as a third-round pick going to get into the mix right away?
Yeah, the two I was going to throw out, Rabbit, one, just because the more he spoke this year, the more he realized how different this defense was from college. I mean, it really was so foreign to him in so many different ways. So I think he faced one of the biggest learning curves, I think, going from the college game to the pro game in terms of the scheme and how he fits and what his responsibilities are. And then he finally started playing and stopped thinking very late in the season. But you saw him as a seek and destroy type safety. The other one I'll throw out is Isaiah Adams. And it was interesting to hear him talk about how he was working with the Cardinals strength staff during the season. Now, a lot of these guys, especially the veteran guys, it's sort of maintenance workouts during the year. But he was, from what it sounds like, was doing strength building type workouts during the year. And so if he spends his offseason in the squat rack and works on that lower half, he has the size, he has the length, he has the athleticism, he has the skill set, the technique. He just needs some more of that raw strength and power to be able to anchor. And that's his lower half. And if he's able to make gains, I'll sort of throw out like a Zach Allen was sort of that guy. Like his first year, he's
too soon, Paul. Too soon.
He was a little
All-pro Zach Allen.
He was a little too
second team, I believe.
Byron Murphy making the Pro Bowl, and so there's Zach Allen. And he needed to put on size and weight and a little bit of strength. He was around 285. I think of Darius Robinson at 285, and I think Zach Allen. I think, what would Darius Robinson be? I mean, he has the physique of what he used to be, a basketball player in a lot of ways. And so what if he was closer to 300 with his strength and his athleticism? What would that mean in the trenches?
Usually between year 1 and year 2, line of scrimmage players are in the weight room trying to put on some extra weight, some extra muscle. And so I would be right with you there, especially when talking about Adams as your guard. this is a good thing that the Cardinals have had so many impactful rookie players and players that have shown enough that make you confident to see a jump from year 2. Now, there are still players that you have question marks still in. And sometimes that's situations like tackle Christian Jones, who didn't see a lot of playing time. He played one game, the final game, and had a few snaps the week prior. Year 2, is he going to make enough of a jump in the offseason to see a little bit more of him, that maybe we see him more in the regular season? And what the Cardinals decide to do there when you've got Kelvin Beachum, who's been your swing tackle as a pending free agent. Xavier Thomas is another name as a pass rusher where there's a big question mark of what did you see from him in year 1 and what are you telling him to work on in the offseason to be an impactful pass rusher, and all the other things that this coaching staff asks of those outside linebackers to do besides getting to the quarterback, especially when you've got B.J. Ojulari expected to come back after missing the whole season with an ACL injury, a question mark around pending free agent Dennis Gardeck. So there's different levels when you're talking about the expectations of jumps from year 1 to year 2 for a lot of these rookies. And I think when you look at some of those players, we didn't see a lot of you this year. So it's a bigger question mark of what kind of jump are you going to be able to take.
Speaking of cornerbacks, here's the segue to the fines that were levied against Sean Murphy-Bunting and Starling Thomas, but not Juwan Jennings, the guy who I think most would agree was the instigator. Now, I think probably the difference between 49er
obviously
fan...
the league didn't feel like he was the instigator.
The difference between 49er fan and Cardinals fans would be that Niner fan says he was just finishing a physical block.
Twice.
He got disqualified from a game, and
actually,
that's not enough to fine him.
And actually 3 times in 2 weeks, because if you go back to the week before against the Lions, he took a Lions safety all the way through the end zone, past the goalpost, and into the luxury field seating. Before then, I think Kirby Joseph actually was the one who came and picked him off and separated him. But that's what Starling Thomas was talking about. Juwan Jennings, the guy who went viral the week before for taking the DB, in a situation where you're not expecting the 100% effort of blocking, and then he takes advantage of that. And then once you got a guy and you got him on roller skates, and now you're going to finish him, and the whole tough guy thing, and here we go. But yeah, the fact he didn't get fined at all when he has a track record and a precedent.
He was over on the 49ers sideline hyping up the fans, taking his sweet time leaving the field.
And by the way, maybe they didn't fine him. The only thing I can think of, maybe they didn't fine him because he missed his bonus for not hitting 1,000 yards. He was 25 yards shy because he got ejected.
Did he have a bonus?
I saw a couple of posts that he did.
Okay.
So.
I mean, I knew he wanted to get there, but
yeah,
that's a bad way to lose some money.
Yes, it is. No doubt about it.
It's good leadership advice.
Yeah. Let's see.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's
Follow
good
the
job.
rules. I'm a rules person, Danny. I don't know if you knew that about me.
That's new news to me.
Let's see here. Maybe that would fit.
Yes, you're recording it, Cody. Just relax.
Part 2, fundamental 1, believe you can. Believing that you can lead is essential to developing your leadership skills and abilities. The best leaders are the best learners. So maybe Danny might have a few pointers for you, Darren, a little bit later.
She sure does.
She's not finished, Paul.
Yes.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not finished.
Yes. Oh, man. So let's see. Who would be the opposite of Juwan Jennings? Hey, Larry Fitzgerald. As a person and as a player.
I'm just going to title this podcast Paul's Segues.
Good segues today.
So tell us about the video, Darren, that's up and out and gaining great traction. I watched it. Very well done. And it's a Fitz family production.
Well, it was there were various Fitzgeralds in it. They didn't produce it. They had other things going on.
Work with me here, Darren. Work with me.
Sorry.
You mean Devin didn't edit the whole thing?
No.
Well, I figured it was his deal.
We actually had to. So Devin Fitzgerald.
I figured he did it on TikTok and sent it over.
Not for long. Do it while you can.
That's right.
So this is a feature that we had been talking about making for over a couple of years now. It's morphed in a couple ways, and at one point we came up with the idea of involving Larry Fitzgerald's son, Devin Fitzgerald, who is a wide receiver at Brophy Prep in Phoenix, and he just finished his junior year of high school. and he kind of helps narrate this piece that we put together that highlights Larry Fitzgerald's 2008 playoff run, as magnificent as it was. We have interviews with Ken Wisenhunt and Larry and Kurt Warner and Adrian Wilson. And so we hit a bunch of people, and Grayson Choi did a great job editing it. Kyle Deroni helped out with the shoot with Devin, which actually went down twice for a couple of different reasons. So we had to kind of redo some things. But I think it turned out wonderfully. It's part of a new video series sponsored by Microsoft Surface called Cardinals Overtime, and it's the first of a handful. Danny has some episodes in the works, so please check it out on YouTube. It's also on the website, but YouTube is probably the main place to get it. Larry's legendary run, and hopefully everybody enjoys that.
It was really well produced, and I like the idea of this whole feature series where every story is going to be different and look very different.
Yeah.
And they're not just about Cardinals history. It's also about these players as people and incorporating their families. And I think it's a really unique perspective on a lot of people who fans think they know, and getting to know them a little better.
And you think you know the story, and for those of us who were there and we covered it, like, I totally forgot. Larry had one catch going into the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. He had one catch at that point in the game.
Yes. They had shut him down pretty good.
That's the kind of stuff I didn't remember. And then he ended up with 7 for 120 or something like that, and then the 2 touchdowns because he caught the one off his helmet, and then obviously
Tyree before. Well, I guess it wasn't Tyree before Tyree, because I think Tyree was before that, right? I can't remember.
Yeah, which one was that exactly?
I think Tyree was the year before.
I think it was 06 or 07. Okay, but yeah, it's just and then the stories of Larry in practice, which is what we would hear about anecdotally. The catches he made in practice. If you guys could see some of the catches he makes in practice, man, Allen Iverson style, right? Then you some of the catches he made in training camp that we were allowed to see, or even in preseason, the catches that didn't count that were remarkable. And it just gives you a whole new appreciation for what he put out on that field. And even here 15 years later, 17 years later, I mean, that performance doesn't look antiquated at all. Doesn't look. I mean, that still holds water 2025.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure it'll be one of the main talking points when Larry Fitzgerald goes into the Hall of Fame in about a year.
That's right, no doubt. Although, has he filed his papers? Darren, has he filed? These are the kind of things you need to know. Has he filed his papers officially?
What papers would those be, Paul?
The retirement papers. Do you have to file your retirement papers to start the clock?
No, you do not.
You do not?
No.
Okay.
You just can't play in a game.
I
For
see.
5 years.
I see. Okay.
And
All
I'm
right.
feeling fairly confident Larry will not be appearing in an NFL
Wouldn't
game.
that be just the craziest offseason ever? Shall we manifest it?
That's a TikTok video waiting to happen.
These things happen in threes, okay? So no donuts, no pets in outfits, and no Fitz rekindling his playing career, okay? Those
Well,
sort of like
soon
yours
no
truly.
TikTok.
The refrigerator went out, the garbage disposal went out, and then I joked when I was filling in with Wolf on Friday. I said, these things happen in threes. This is the third thing, is I have to sit here for 4 hours and carry your keister on your own show. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And then the gods didn't like that because on Sunday, my dishwasher broke.
No.
Oh, water everywhere. So
Good thing you've
yes.
got 2 kids to help you
So-
wash dishes.
So once again, no, they weren't even up yet. Didn't get up till
Cheeto helped. He had an apron on. They dressed the pet
Dogs
in
make
an
very
apron.
good dishwashers. They will lick anything off a plate.
Yeah, the dog, no chance. If look, the dog has broken every other rule that I had established, okay? But I'm holding firm on the no dressing up of the dog. In fact, I did bring the hammer down in a rare instance where I was actually the leader at Casa Calvici. I said, thou shalt not wear a Halloween costume. Not happening. We're not putting our dog in a Halloween costume. So
And that got followed?
it got followed. It did. At least
That's impressive.
as far as I know, I wasn't there for all the trick-or-treating.
How's Cheeto's weight? I mean, I know that
Yeah, what's the
we've
update?
already passed the second Friday in January, so
Okay.
he's probably not going to the gym anymore.
No,
but
he was tracking pretty well. Unfortunately, our uncle showed up, who's a avid dog lover, and we found out that he's been slipping him dog treats on the side. And we wondered, why did Cheeto take such a quick liking to his uncle he never met before? Like within 24 hours, they were besties. Well, that's because he was slipping them some of
You
the
know,
beef
you talk about being a
treats,
leader
you know?
back there, Paul, but
Yeah.
it feels like you're totally not in control of that house at
Well,
all.
You know, I try and empower the people under my leadership, you know, so I don't
that's
try not to
true.
micromanage them. But
Paul
yeah,
hasn't gotten to that chapter of the book yet.
yeah, they're losing my faith, and we're going to need some new rules. You're right, Darren. You know, I tried to let everyone be their own boss. It's not working
Maybe
very
you
well.
do need to go to the inner peace book
Yeah.
instead of the leadership book.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to
Serenity Now.
So full circle we come back to the book on leadership as we wrap up this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation. Chapter 9. Once again, it's not just about you, Darren.
There's a lot of you in here, like right in your
No,
face.
that
That
was
was supposed to be the mic drop to end
That-
the episode.
that was
Sorry,
the end
my
of the
bad.
podcast. Darren.
Okay, cut that off.
That was it. Edit somewhere in here, somewhere, please.
You got one more?
Okay, no. Oh, who you are isn't who you will be. When you look back 10 years from now, are things the same today as they were then? So that's chapter 8. There we go. It's a good off-season directive right there. And no better time to start than right now, because every journey starts with that first step in 3, 2, and 1.